Cheating millionaire husband asks his pregnant wife for money. Her fierce response shocks him. Lily's heart pounded as she clutched the ultrasound photo in her trembling hands. She had everything she'd ever hoped for: an exciting career, a beautiful home on the outskirts of Chicago, and a baby on the way with her charming millionaire husband, Jacob Barrington. Yet beneath the polished marble floors and gleaming chandeliers, secrets lurked in the shadows of their mansion. When Jacob's eyes started wandering and he set his sights on an enticing, reckless affair, Lily's world shattered. Little did he know the day would come when he, despite his immense wealth, would turn to her for money only to face a scorching betrayal unlike anything he'd ever imagined. The day Lily first met Jacob Barrington felt like a scene pulled straight from a romantic film. She was a junior public relations associate, fresh out of grad school, hustling through an event for Louis Vuitton at the Grand Chicago Auditorium. Her job was to ensure that VIP guests felt welcome and that the brand's new collection presentation went smoothly. She was young, optimistic, and carried a determination that radiated from her eyes. If she got nervous, she never showed it. Her posture, her composure, and her quiet confidence conveyed the sense of a woman ready to conquer any challenge placed in front of her. Jacob was there as a high-profile guest, a self-made millionaire known for his tech innovations and flamboyant lifestyle. He exuded a charm that put everyone around him at ease. He wasn't your typical socially awkward tech genius. Instead, he had the suave presence of a well-seasoned actor and the undeniable magnetism of a man who knew what he wanted. From the moment he stepped out of his sleek black limousine, paparazzi cameras flashed like strobes, capturing every angle of his impeccably tailored suit and gracious smile. Rumors floated in the event space. "That's Jacob Barrington," one woman whispered. "His company just landed a multi-million-dollar deal with a Silicon Valley giant." Lily heard these whispers but kept her head in her work. She greeted him politely, offered him a flute of champagne, and then proceeded to check in on other VIP guests. Just as she turned around to leave, Jacob gently tapped her shoulder. "Don't I get a little more time with the woman who's running this show?" he asked, giving her a grin that made her heart skip a beat. Lily smiled politely. Her mind raced. Had she neglected him in some way, or was he just being flirtatious? She tried to maintain professional composure. "I'm so sorry if you need anything," she said. "I can certainly assist you." "How can I help?" Jacob laughed. "Help? You already have. Just by being here," he said, eyes shimmering. She couldn't help but feel her cheeks flush. People around them noticed Jacob's interest, but Lily, trying to keep it professional, thanked him and moved along. Little did she know that brief introduction would spark a romance that would change her life forever. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of courtship. Jacob invited Lily to exclusive galas, candlelit dinners at the finest restaurants in the city, and even flew her to New York for an extravagant weekend. He showered her with tokens of affection, diamond bracelets, roses that filled entire rooms, and sweet handwritten notes declaring his admiration. Lily found herself swept away, but she also kept her feet on the ground. She valued simple joys like walking by the lakeside, sharing heartfelt conversations under star-speckled skies, and listening to Jacob talk about his dreams for the future. Those intimate moments painted him as more than just a multi-millionaire. He was a passionate visionary with a heart of gold, or so she believed. After a brief 6-month romance, Jacob proposed to Lily in front of the iconic Buckingham Fountain in Chicago, friends and family secretly watching from a distance. They celebrated the engagement with champagne and tears of joy. For Lily, it felt like she had reached the peak of a mountain, gazing out at a vast horizon of promise and hope. She didn't know that, beneath the promise, cracks in Jacob's foundation were forming. When they wed, Jacob moved Lily into his sprawling estate near Lake Michigan. The house was an architectural masterpiece: marble floors, handcrafted pillars and an elegant glass walkway leading from the main foyer to a lavish garden. A team of staff attended to every detail, from landscaping the grounds to polishing the silverware. Everywhere Lily looked, she saw a reflection of the man she thought Jacob was: refined, meticulous, and generous. But as the months rolled by, hints of Jacob's pride and arrogance began to show. He demanded the best of everything: the best furniture, the best vehicles, the best wines. Initially, Lily thought he was simply accustomed to a life of luxury. After all, his businesses thrived. He could afford these indulgences. But there were small signs that he was spending far beyond what even his large fortune could comfortably handle. She noticed credit card statements strewn on his office table with astronomically high charges at five-star resorts, high-end jewelry stores, and, oddly, private bars with questionable reputations. Whenever Lily tried to bring up the subject of finances, Jacob dismissed her concerns with a wave of his hand. "I know what I'm doing, Lily. Don't worry about it," he'd say, with a reassuring smile. "Besides, you know how to handle your own job. Let me handle mine." Lily decided to trust him. After all, he had built a tech empire from scratch. She had never been a materialistic woman and had little interest in managing or even following the labyrinth of business dealings that Jacob did. She assumed that beneath his arrogance lay knowledge and the ability to manage risk. Their married life continued, with Lily occasionally glimpsing that side of Jacob that made her wary. But as soon as fear crept into her heart, he'd turn back into the romantic suitor she'd fallen in love with, taking her out to dinner and dancing with her in the courtyard under the moonlight. Love, in her eyes, was about seeing the best in someone. She remained convinced that Jacob's flamboyance stemmed from his desire to give her the world. 18 months into their marriage, Lily discovered she was pregnant. When she saw those 2 lines on the home test kit, her heart raced with a blend of excitement and trepidation. She scrambled to wrap the test in a small gift box, tying a pink ribbon around it. She practiced in the mirror how she would announce it to Jacob. She imagined tears of joy in his eyes, a tender embrace, maybe a vow that they would raise this child in a loving home filled with warmth and devotion. That evening, she presented Jacob with the gift, expecting an over-the-top reaction. He opened the box, stared at the test in confusion for a moment, then grinned. "Are we?" he murmured. Lily nodded, smiling wide. "Yes, we're having a baby." He laughed loudly, scooped her into his arms, and spun her around in the expansive living room. For a while, it felt like she was floating on air, as if all the doubts that had sometimes gnawed at her had vanished in the glow of impending parenthood. That night, they toasted the news with sparkling apple cider, clinking glasses under the chandelier. Jacob seemed genuinely excited, peppering Lily with questions about nursery designs, baby names, and future plans. But the days that followed introduced a subtle shift. Jacob became increasingly absent, citing urgent business calls at odd hours. He traveled more, flew to unexpected destinations, and left Lily behind, alone in that massive house. At first, Lily assumed the baby news had propelled him to work harder to ensure a stable future. She rationalized that he was trying to secure their child's life. But deep inside, a small voice whispered that something was off. During his absences, Lily attended prenatal appointments alone. Each time, the ultrasound technician pointed out the heartbeat or asked if she wanted to know the baby's gender, Lily was hit with a profound loneliness. She would smile politely, telling the doctor that her husband was occupied with work, but he'd be around eventually. Jacob missed multiple milestones. First time, Lily felt the baby move, the gender reveal. Whenever she confronted him, he apologized half-heartedly, always promising he'd make it up to her. As Lily's pregnancy advanced, the sense of foreboding that something was amiss grew. She started noticing unfamiliar perfume clinging to Jacob's clothes, suspicious receipts tucked in his wallet for lavish dinners in cities where he'd supposedly traveled for business. She found smudges of lipstick on his collar, pink or sometimes a bright red that wasn't hers. One day, a friend of hers called, sobbing into the phone. She had seen Jacob at a posh restaurant, not just having dinner with a woman, but cradling her hand across the table, leaning in intimately. Lily's friend hesitated to reveal this, not wanting to cause strife, but her loyalty to Lily outweighed her fear of confrontation. Lily pressed for every detail. The friend recalled the woman's long black hair, the diamond ring that sparkled on her finger, the stolen kisses she and Jacob shared in the corner booth. Lily's hand shook on the phone. Her entire body felt numb. That night, Lily waited for Jacob in the living room. She'd put on a calm facade, but her heart hammered in her chest. When he breezed in, smiling as if everything were normal, Lily wasted no time. "Where have you been?" she asked. "And don't say it was business." Jacob's eyes flickered momentarily. He sighed, pulling off his tie. "I've been working, Lily. I'm tired. We can talk tomorrow." "No, we talk now," she stated firmly. "I know about the dinners, about the lipstick. Who is she?" Jacob tried to dodge the question, but Lily pressed on. Eventually he snapped, "It's nothing, Lily. Just a client. A fling. It means nothing. I needed stress relief. I'm still here, aren't I? I'm still supporting us, our family." Tears welled in Lily's eyes. She felt the baby kick, as if responding to the tension flooding the air. She stormed to the guest bedroom, slamming the door behind her, ignoring his pleas to be reasonable and don't blow this out of proportion. As Lily lay on the bed, hands on her belly, she knew something had irreparably changed. In the following weeks, Lily tried to mend her marriage. She was carrying their child, and she believed in the sanctity of marriage. Therapy sessions were booked but often missed by Jacob. He was rarely home, claiming urgent meetings in Los Angeles or Miami. Lily started hearing rumors, dinners in the Hamptons, late-night parties, massive expenditures on a new sports car. She discovered that the client, whose name was Regina, was far more than just a casual fling. Regina was a rising influencer with a taste for luxury and scandal. She paraded around town in the diamond jewelry Jacob bought, documenting her escapades on social media. Some posts even featured glimpses of Jacob's silhouettes or the interior of the private jets he rented. Confronting Jacob again led nowhere. He apologized at first, but soon his frustration turned to anger. "I bring everything to this household," he spat one night, eyes filled with venom. "I made you who you are. Don't you lecture me about my life." The words stung, but Lily refused to cry in front of him. Time passed, and Lily buried herself in preparing for the baby's arrival. She filled an entire room with pastel wallpaper, plush teddy bears, atop of the lined crib. Jacob's presence was minimal, and when he was around, a tension hung in the air so thick you could slice it with a knife. Lily walked on eggshells, trying not to spark another fight. Her nights were sleepless as she felt more alone than ever. She wondered, should she leave? Should she stay for the baby? Jacob's empire began to show cracks. His lavish spending combined with questionable business dealings stretched his resources thin. One of his biggest contracts fell through, citing concerns about Jacob's reliability and the scandal swirling around his personal life. Investors started pulling out. Rumors churned in the media. Is the Barrington empire collapsing? Read one headline. Photos of Jacob partying with Regina circulated online, fueling speculation that his personal entanglements interfered with his work. Jacob responded to the looming financial crisis in typical Jacob fashion. Denial. He insisted everything was fine, pumping massive amounts of money into showy product launches to prove the naysayers wrong. He attempted to buy a prime piece of real estate in downtown Chicago, boasting of building a new headquarters that would outdo Silicon Valley's modern complexes. Banks became hesitant to offer loans, given the swirl of negative press. Jacob had gone from being the man with the golden touch to a cautionary tale. At home, the shift in Jacob's temperament was evident. He paced the halls, phone glued to his ear, voice raised in frustration. Staff members resigned, claiming unpaid salaries. Lily often found them outside her room, apologizing through tears, explaining they couldn't afford to keep working without pay. She tried to reason with Jacob, who brushed her off again. "It's temporary," he claimed. "I'll fix this. I always do." But the expression on his face betrayed a deep-rooted panic. As Lily's belly swelled, she tried to keep calm. She reached out to her parents and close friends, revealing only small pieces of what was going on. She didn't want pity, but neither could she handle the weight of her troubles alone. Her mother, gentle yet shrewd, hinted that Lily should consider her options carefully. But Lily felt trapped. She was financially dependent on Jacob. She'd left her full-time job shortly after their wedding, at Jacob's urging, and her savings were modest compared to his. She had a baby on the way and no stable income. Escape seemed daunting. 8 months into her pregnancy, Lily faced the unthinkable. She was sprawled on the living room couch, exhaustion evident in her every breath, when Jacob strutted in. He smelled of cigars and whiskey, the after-hours stench of a man desperate for deals. His eyes darted around, as if searching for answers in the lavish furniture and artworks that once symbolized success. Finally, he settled next to Lily. "I need a favor," he began softly, voice laced with a tinge of desperation. Lily barely recognized the vulnerability in his tone. "What is it?" she asked, her mind racing with the possibilities. Did he want her to talk to an investor on his behalf? Did he want moral support? He ran a hand through his hair, his gaze fixed on the Persian rug. "I need money," he muttered. "Why, we're a bit strapped, and some accounts are frozen. I just need a little injection of funds to tide me over." The words hung in the air, deafening in their simplicity. Lily blinked, convinced she must have misheard. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice trembling. "Money? From me?" Jacob exhaled in frustration, as though her confusion was an inconvenience to him. "Yes, from you. Don't you have savings? A retirement fund or something? I need immediate cash flow to keep the business afloat." "It won't be for long. I can pay you back." Lily felt fury bubbling in her chest. She was heavily pregnant, emotionally drained, and now confronted by the very man who had betrayed her, asking for money. "Why would I give you money, Jacob?" she asked, biting back tears. "You've been cheating on me, ignoring me, neglecting our unborn child. And now you want a bailout?" Jacob's eyes flashed. "I said I'd pay you back. Don't act like some victim. We're married. If I lose everything, you and the baby lose everything too." Lily's stomach churned. The audacity of his request was staggering, but she also recognized the underlying manipulation. If he went bankrupt, she'd be left with nothing. She took a breath, forced herself to remain calm. "How much do you need?" Jacob mentioned a sum that made her stomach flip. It was more than she had saved in her entire life. In fact, it was close to every penny of the modest inheritance she'd received from her late grandmother, plus her personal emergency savings. His gaze hardened. "We have to do something. Otherwise, this house, our lifestyle gone." A tear slipped down Lily's cheek, but she wiped it away fiercely. She thought about the times she'd gone without new clothes, or fancy nights out because she felt content with what she had. She thought about the nights she'd waited for Jacob, only to receive empty promises. And now, in her most vulnerable state, he expected her to hand over everything she had. "I'll think about it," she finally replied, her voice low, "but don't hold your breath." That night, Lily remained awake, staring at the ceiling of the bedroom, one of the only rooms she still felt comfortable in. Every memory of her marriage replayed like a film reel in her mind, their first spark of love, the sweet gifts, the proposals, the heartbreak, the deception. Through it all, she had tried to remain a loyal wife. Now, she wondered if her loyalty was the very thing keeping her tied to misery. By morning, her mind was made up. She found Jacob in his office, rummaging through piles of papers, bills, threats of lawsuits from vendors, legal documents. He looked up with an air of impatience. "Did you bring the check?" he asked, as though that was the only thing on his mind. Lily stood tall, even as her heavy belly tugged on her back. "I'm not giving you a dime," she declared, her tone steady yet fierce. Jacob's eyes widened. He scoffed. "You're joking. I'm very serious. You can't buy me. You can't guilt me into saving you from your own mistakes. You put us in this situation. You neglected me. You cheated. You used our money like it grew on trees. Now you want me to fix it all so you can keep living this lavish fantasy? No." His voice rose to a shout. "You ungrateful. Do you think you'll be better off if I go under? You'll lose this house, everything, Lily." She fired back, her voice echoing in the cavernous space. "Everything? What everything? You think I'm attached to marble floors and sports cars? My child doesn't need them to be happy. I'd rather be poor and free than be chained to a man who doesn't respect me." Jacob slammed his fist on the desk, launching scattered bills into the air, his face reddened with rage. "You'll regret this," he hissed. "Don't come crying to me when you have nothing." Tears threatened to well up in Lily's eyes again, but she refused to let them fall in front of him. She turned on her heel and left, heart pounding with a mix of terror and liberation. She had taken a stand, something she never imagined she'd have the courage to do. Days turned into a chaotic blur. The staff who remained walked on pins and needles. Lawyers and accountants shuffled in and out of the mansion, carrying grim expressions and heavy briefcases. Lily became a ghost in her own home. She kept mostly to her room, venturing out only to take walks through the garden or to see her obstetrician. The baby was due in less than a month, and the physical and emotional toll weighed heavily on her. Meanwhile, Jacob's downfall accelerated. His scandalous affair with Regina became public knowledge when paparazzi snapped explicit photographs of them at a high-end resort. The photos splashed across tabloids, accompanied by sensational headlines questioning Jacob's morality, his business acumen, and the precarious state of his finances. Major partners cut ties to avoid the PR nightmare. Share prices in Jacob's company nosedived, culminating in an emergency board meeting that unceremoniously removed him as CEO. He was left with a minority stake in a company he once ruled with an iron fist. Desperate and enraged, Jacob attempted to sell off assets to recoup funds. The mansion went on the market, but the negative press and the plunging real estate market forced the price to slump. Buyers offered sums far below its estimated worth. He liquidated expensive cars, art pieces, jewelry, anything to stave off the avalanche of debt. Regina, who had reveled in Jacob's wealth, distanced herself the moment she sensed trouble. She disappeared from social media in connection to him, quietly moving on to another wealthy opportunity. Jacob discovered he had burned nearly every bridge. Former friends who once flocked to his extravagant parties turned their backs, too afraid to be associated with a sinking ship. He was alone, humiliated, and cornered. Only then did he realize how deeply he had wronged Lily, and that her refusal to give him money was the only real reason he still had a shred of dignity left. Lily's due date arrived like a calm in the eye of the storm. Despite the chaos swirling around her, she found solace in preparing for the baby's arrival. She'd packed a hospital bag with the essentials, watched a multitude of prenatal classes online, and maintained her composure with the help of a few dear friends and her mother, who had flown in from out of state to be by her side. Early one morning, Lily felt the first contractions. Sharp pangs radiated through her abdomen, taking her breath away. She called out to whoever was left in the house. No one answered at first. Jacob was locked in his office, presumably on a desperate phone call. Summoning the last vestiges of her strength, Lily made her way to the office and forced the door open. Jacob glanced at her, phone still pressed to his ear. He saw the sweat on her forehead, the fear in her eyes, and instantly understood. "I have to call you back," he muttered into the receiver before dropping the phone on the desk. Rushing to Lily's side, he asked if she could walk, if she needed anything. He guided her to the car and sped to the hospital. What followed were excruciating hours of labor. Lily clutched the hospital bed rails, sweat pouring down her face. Yet amid the agony, she found strength in the knowledge that she was about to meet her child. When the baby boy finally arrived, wailing in indignation at this harsh new world, Lily sobbed with relief. She felt an indescribable rush of love. The nurse placed the baby in her arms, and Lily whispered sweet nothings to him, tears and sweat mixing on her exhausted face. Jacob stood by the bedside, tears pooling in his eyes. In that moment, a flash of his old self-caring, gentle surfaced. He placed a trembling hand on the baby's tiny head and gazed at Lily with genuine warmth for the first time in months. But Lily, though moved by the magnitude of the birth, kept her guard up. She could not forget what he had done. For the first few days, Lily remained in the hospital, recovering. Jacob visited sporadically, sometimes holding the baby and mumbling apologies under his breath. Lily said little. She needed her energy for healing, and she had no interest in rehashing old arguments. Her mother, in the meantime, made discreet arrangements for Lily's future, searching for an affordable apartment in Chicago where Lily and the baby could move once she was discharged. As the hospital stay neared its end, Jacob approached Lily's bedside with an envelope in hand. His eyes were sunken, his once proud posture slumped. "I want to help," he murmured. "I know I've been a terrible husband, a fool, but I'm still this baby's father." Lily stared at him warily. She wondered if this was another trick or a shallow attempt at reconciliation. "What's in the envelope?" "An account," he replied softly. "With some money I managed to salvage from the estate after paying off the most pressing debts. It's not a fortune anymore, but it's something. You and the baby deserve at least that." She hesitated, memories of his betrayal flashing through her mind. But looking at her newborn, his tiny hands waving in the air, she realized that financial stability was necessary, at least for the child's immediate future. She took the envelope, saying nothing. Jacob swallowed hard. I'm sorry, Lily. Truly, I know I've lost your trust. I don't deserve forgiveness. But maybe I can be a better father." Lily's eyes moistened. She cradled the baby in her arms, uncertain of what the future held. "We'll see," she said simply, refusing to offer him false reassurance. A part of her believed that people could change, but she wasn't naive enough to ignore the damage he had done. 1 week later, Lily and the baby moved into a small but cozy apartment in the city. Her mother helped decorate the nursery corner, painting the walls a soothing shade of pale yellow. Sunlight streamed through the windows in the afternoons, offering a sense of warmth absent from the cold mansion that had once been her home. Jacob tried to stay involved. He showed up with baby supplies, apologized repeatedly, and attempted to bond with his newborn son, whom Lily had named Daniel. Yet Lily was firm. She refused to return to the mansion, which Jacob was still desperately trying to sell. She allowed him to visit under strict conditions and made it clear that she would no longer tolerate any form of manipulation or disrespect. In moments of introspection, Jacob realized how much he'd destroyed for the sake of image and pleasure. He had lost his position, his grand house was on the market, and the woman he once declared he'd cherish forever was done with him. For the first time in his life, he grasped the importance of humility. He found a modest condo for himself, started therapy, and embarked on a smaller-scale business consulting job. It was a steep fall from being a high-flying tech mogul to hustling for freelance gigs, but it was all he had left. And it might, just might, give him the chance to rebuild himself from the ashes if he truly decided to learn from his mistakes. During the months that followed, Jacob's world continued to spiral. Multiple lawsuits from creditors, pending tax audits from suspicious authorities, and the final blow, a scandal involving Regina's new lover, who accused Jacob of setting them up for blackmail. The revelations, posted on social media, painted Jacob as vengeful and manipulative. The negative publicity irreparably stained his reputation. Investors blacklisted him, ensuring he wouldn't easily find big financial backing in the foreseeable future. Adding insult to injury, Regina leaked private messages to the tabloids, showcasing Jacob's desperate pleas for her to give him one more chance, even while Lily was pregnant. Those texts shattered any sympathy the public might have had left for him. Instead, they garnered widespread condemnation, turning him into a pariah in the same social circles he once dominated. Jacob's phone went silent, no invites, no parties, no job offers from old acquaintances. Meanwhile, Lily kept busy with little Daniel. Her mother supported her, and her best friend found Lily a part-time role, handling PR for a local non-profit. Slowly but surely, Lily found her footing. Her days were long but fulfilling, centered on caring for her infant son and reclaiming the independence she had once surrendered to Jacob's promises of luxury. The hush that fell over the apartment at night was a stark contrast to the mansion's endless halls and staff. But Lily found solace in the silence, a space to breathe and reflect. She realized she no longer had to wait for a husband who never came home. She felt the weight of heartbreak lift from her shoulders, replaced by determination. 6 months after Daniel's birth, Lily watched her baby attempt his first clumsy crawls. Each inch forward was a tiny victory. She recorded the moment on her phone, narrating it in a gentle voice. Tears welled in her eyes, but they were tears of joy. She recalled how, not so long ago, she had envisioned raising her child in a gleaming mansion, showered with wealth and comfort. Yet in this modest apartment, surrounded by baby toys and second-hand furniture, she felt a sense of peace and fulfillment she hadn't known in that marble palace. That same week, Lily had an unexpected visitor, Jacob. He stood outside her door, carrying a baby gift, an expensive rattle from a brand that specialized in silver baby accessories. She raised an eyebrow, debating whether to let him in. A glance at Daniel, giggling on the living room floor, prompted her to open the door. The tension between them was palpable. Jacob's eyes flickered around the apartment, taking in the humble decor. He set the gift on a small side table and cleared his throat. "I wanted to see Daniel," he said softly. Lily nodded, stepping aside. Jacob knelt, letting Daniel grab his fingers. A faint smile softened Jacob's face as the baby cooed. The moment was bittersweet. Lily stood back, arms folded, wondering how to navigate the delicate line between letting Jacob be a father and protecting herself from more heartache. When Jacob rose, Lily fixed him with a penetrating stare. "What do you really want, Jacob?" He swallowed. "To see my son, to try to make amends, if that's even possible. I'm not asking for us to get back together, unless—" "No," Lily interrupted, her tone firm. "We're not going backward." A painful silence ensued. Jacob nodded slowly. "I understand. I know I deserve this." He paused, struggling for words. "I lost everything, Lily, everything. It's like karma, I guess. I just want you to know I'm truly sorry." Her expression remained guarded, but she could see genuine remorse in his eyes. "Jacob, I appreciate that you're trying to own up to what you did, but I'm still healing. Let's keep this simple. You want to be part of Daniel's life? Fine, we'll have terms, legal ones maybe, but I can't go back to who we were. That person, that version of us, it's gone. Jacob blinked away tears. I understand. He lowered his gaze. I'll do whatever it takes. Over the following months, Jacob visited once or twice a week, carefully respecting Lily's boundaries. Their interactions were civil, sometimes even amicable, for Daniel's sake. Meanwhile, Lily steadily climbed the ladder at the non-profit, impressing her bosses with her PR savvy and dedication. Soon, she was offered a full-time role, with benefits a major relief for a single mother just finding her independence. With some newly earned savings, Lily upgraded the apartment bit by bit, buying a comfortable couch, cheerful artwork, and an array of toys for Daniel. She reconnected with old friends, some of whom she had lost touch with during her whirlwind marriage. They welcomed her back with open arms, supporting her emotionally and practically. Jacob's finances remained dire, and the mansion eventually sold for far less than its market value. Lawsuits drained whatever money he had left, leaving him with a modest bank account. He contemplated filing for bankruptcy, but a short gig in consulting prevented him from hitting rock bottom financially. Emotionally, however, he was already there. And if there was ever a silver lining, it was that hitting rock bottom forced him to re-evaluate his priorities. He enrolled in a 12-step program for addiction to the high life, to attention, to fleeting pleasures. Therapy sessions began to chip away at the man who had hidden behind arrogance and indulgence. Another year passed, and Daniel turned one. Lily threw a small party in the apartment's community hall. Balloons bobbed in the air, a birthday banner stretched across the wall, and a homemade cake with vanilla frosting sat on the table. Friends and family arrived, showering Daniel with laughter, gifts, and love. Jacob showed up too, quietly slipping into the room with a small stuffed bear for his son. Lily allowed him to join the festivities, though she remained slightly distant. In a moment when they were alone, Jacob placed a hand on Lily's shoulder. "Thank you for letting me be here," he said. "I know it isn't easy for you." She studied him. He looked different, older, with slight bags under his eyes and a humility that she had never seen before. "I'll always let you be here for Daniel," she said quietly. "I don't want him to grow up without a father. But that's up to you, Jacob. You have to keep working on yourself." He nodded, tears glistening in his eyes. "I will, I promise." They rejoined the group, where Lily's mother was helping Daniel blow out the single candle. Daniel giggled as everyone clapped and cheered. The sound filled the small hall, reverberating against Lily's heart. This was her life now, simpler, not without challenges, but real and grounded. No illusions, no deceptions, just honest connections. Later that night, after all the guests had left and Daniel was asleep, Lily sat in the apartment surrounded by wrapping paper and leftover cake. She thought back to the moment when Jacob had demanded money, the rage and betrayal she'd felt. The memory still stung, but it no longer consumed her. In a way, Jacob had forced her to discover her own strength. She had refused to sacrifice her dignity, and in doing so, she had found herself. Time continued its steady march. Daniel became a bright, curious toddler. Lily rose through the ranks at her organization, eventually landing a managerial role. Her salary was comfortable, and she ensured that Daniel had all he needed: a good preschool, healthy meals, and lots of books and toys. Every so often, Lily caught herself reminiscing about the mansion, the swirling staircase, the glittering parties, realizing that wealth couldn't buy the peace she'd now found. She was far from rich, but she was secure in her ability to provide a stable home for her son. Jacob, meanwhile, managed to settle most of his debts through a slow, grinding process. He rented a modest apartment across town, focusing on self-improvement and building a more honest life. The tabloids no longer chased him, having moved on to the next scandal. He took each day as it came, slowly regaining his footing in the business world. one small project at a time, and every Sunday he showed up at Lily's door with a box of diapers or some baby items. They'd converse about Daniel's latest antics, how he loved watching cartoons or trying to feed himself with a spoon. Sometimes Jacob accompanied them to the park, chasing after Daniel as he learned to run. The arrangement was tenuous but functional. Lily made sure to keep emotional boundaries firmly in place. Jacob appeared grateful for any crumbs of trust she offered. 3 years after Daniel's birth, Lily received a call from a journalist wanting to interview her. The man explained that he was writing a piece on the meteoric rise and fall of Jacob Barrington. "You were his wife during his heyday," the journalist said, "and you left him at the peak of his downfall. I'd love your perspective." Lily hesitated, uncertain if she wanted to reopen old wounds. She politely declined. The journalist, however, was persistent, even offering a sum for her story. Lily hung up, repulsed by the idea of profiting from a painful chapter in her life. But the call unsettled her. It reminded her just how public and humiliating her ordeal had been. That evening, Jacob called, his voice strained. He'd received word that tabloids were rummaging through the ashes again. "I'm so sorry," he said. "I never meant for my mess to follow you around." Lily sighed. "It's done. I can't change the past. We just have to handle it with dignity." Jacob offered a small, sad laugh. "I wish I'd learned that lesson sooner." With the tabloids stirring up dust, Lily feared that the uneasy peace they had found might be threatened. But surprisingly, the media frenzy lasted only a few weeks before dissipating. Newer, juicier scandals replaced Jacob's old story. In the quiet aftermath, Lily found that she felt free, as if she no longer needed to guard the fortress of her heart quite so ferociously against ghosts of the past. One sunny afternoon, Jacob invited Lily and Daniel to a small barbecue at his new place. Lily, after some thought, agreed. She packed a bag of snacks and Daniel's favorite toys. Pulling up to the modest house, far from the grandeur of the mansion, she felt a strange sense of relief. No security gates, no prying paparazzi, just a normal front yard with a grill and a few fold-out chairs. Jacob greeted them with a smile, showing Daniel a little inflatable pool in the backyard. The boy squealed with excitement. Lily sat on a lawn chair, carefully observing Jacob. He seemed lighter, more at peace. He grilled burgers and hot dogs, occasionally pausing to make sure Daniel didn't wander too far. The afternoon passed in quiet, domestic bliss. Jacob cleared his throat, turning to Lily. "Thank you for coming. You didn't have to, I know, but thank you." Lily nodded, sipping lemonade. "It's good for Daniel to see us together, in a healthy environment," she said. She paused, considering her next words carefully. "I'm proud of you, Jacob. You've changed a lot." Jacob's eyes glimmered with gratitude. "I'm trying every day. The life I used to live. It was toxic. I see that now." They chatted about Daniel's upcoming preschool enrollment and Lily's job. For the first time in a long while, they conversed without the tension of unspoken anger or hurt. When the sun dipped below the horizon, Lily gathered Daniel's toys. Jacob walked them to the car. Before she got in, he held out his hand. "I know things can't go back to the way they were," he said quietly, "but I hope we can keep moving forward, whatever that looks like." Lily studied his face for a moment. The flickering street lamp above them revealed a sincerity she hadn't seen in years. "We can," she said, and offered a small smile, "for Daniel's sake and for ours, in our own way." In the days, weeks, and eventually the years that followed, Lily and Jacob discovered the delicate balancing act of living separate lives while still weaving moments of unity for Daniel's sake. Their cooperative relationship as co-parents didn't form overnight. It was a slow, sometimes painful process that demanded patience and boundaries from both sides. At first, they kept communication strictly to essential updates, medical checkups, School visits, childcare routines, but gradually, some of the unspoken tension lessened. They learned to speak civilly and even share a cautious smile over Daniel's quirky toddler habits. Yet they remained legally separated, a status that gave each of them the space to heal. Lily, once consumed by bitterness and betrayal, found that time and distance allowed her to see Jacob's transformation more objectively. She was under no illusion that the old wounds could ever fully vanish, but she noticed that adversity had forced Jacob to confront his demons. He no longer reveled in extravagant spending or boasted about his prowess. Instead, a kind of sober humility took hold of him. In the remnants of his fall from grace, he seemed more grateful for the small things like hearing Daniel laugh or sharing a cup of coffee with Lily while waiting for the pediatrician. After liquidating the last of his once vast assets to cover legal fees and settle lingering debts, Jacob stepped away from the tech scene that had both fueled and destroyed him. He took a consulting job with a modest salary, advising young entrepreneurs on how to avoid the pitfalls of greed, reckless ambition, and unchecked spending. It was an ironic turn of events for a man once hailed as a business prodigy. Still, Jacob found that embracing truth over facade brought unexpected relief. He received messages from startup founders who thanked him not just for his expertise, but for sharing the cautionary tale of his own downfall. In a twist he never anticipated, his failure made him more relatable and ultimately more valuable to those seeking genuine guidance. With a steadier income, Jacob moved into a small townhouse just across town from Lily's apartment. It had no marble foyers or sweeping lake views, but it had enough space for Daniel's visits, including a second bedroom Lily insisted Daniel should have whenever he stayed overnight with his father. Jacob decorated it with simple furniture, bright posters of cartoon characters Daniel loved, and a toy chest filled with building blocks, puzzles, and stuffed animals. Each time Daniel came over, Jacob's eyes lit up as he tried his best to create joyful memories, perhaps making up for the times he had chosen lavish parties and affairs over family. Meanwhile, Lily continued to carve out her own path. Juggling full-time work at the non-profit where she swiftly rose into a supervisory position alongside motherhood was no small feat. She attended weekend conferences and evening strategy sessions, leveraging her PR background to secure new sponsors and grants that furthered the organization's mission. Her dedication and leadership qualities didn't go unnoticed, and she soon became a face of the non-profit, interviewed in local papers and small TV segments where she spoke passionately about community outreach. Despite the demands of her job, Lily never lost sight of the most important part of her life, Daniel. She coordinated her schedule so she could be there for his doctor appointments, his daycare pickups, his first attempts at riding a tricycle. He was a bright-eyed, curious child who approached the world with the same determined spirit she carried within herself. Their home was modest but full of warmth finger paintings taped on the fridge, a small bookshelf overflowing with Dr. Seuss titles and picture books on animals. Each evening, as Lily tucked Daniel into bed, she felt a surge of gratitude for the independence she had reclaimed and the life she was building. The romantic chapter between Lily and Jacob had closed long ago, yet a different, cautiously respectful bond emerged. They texted each other about Daniel's progress in preschool, shared photos of him playing in the park, or laughed occasionally about a funny thing he said. Though Lily remained guarded, she found her old anger softening when Jacob demonstrated genuine responsibility, like stepping in to babysit when she had an important event, or sending money when Daniel needed new clothes. Occasionally, he brought groceries over, offering to help cook dinner so he could spend an extra hour with their son. Lily allowed it, always drawing a clear line between co-parenting teamwork and any notion of rekindled intimacy. Jacob, for his part, dated sporadically, There were moments when Lily caught a glimpse of pangs in his eyes, perhaps regret or lingering affection, but he never pressed her to reconcile. His therapist, along with his newfound dedication to living a more honest life, kept him accountable. He spoke openly about how he feared losing Daniel's trust if he ever fell back into his old habits. If Lily's refusal to give him money had sparked his downfall, the love he felt for his son became the cornerstone of his redemption. Time has a way of revealing all possibilities. Lily eventually opened her heart to new relationships, meeting others who respected her independence and admired her strength. She dated a caring journalist for nearly 6 months, but their paths diverged when he accepted a job in another state. Later, she found a gentle, thoughtful architect who encouraged her career ambitions and expressed genuine affection for Daniel. While Lily refused to rush into anything, she learned that love could be built on a foundation of respect, companionship, and openness, quite different from the whirlwind romance she once experienced with Jacob. Even if things didn't work out with every suitor, Lily's sense of self remained grounded. Jacob observed Lily's progress with a mixture of pride and wistfulness. He realized the depth of what he had lost, but he also respected Lily's need to move forward on her own terms. And in those fleeting moments when he felt tempted to wallow in regret, he reminded himself that personal growth lay in accepting the consequences of his choices. Over time, Lily and Jacob's relationship settled into a rhythm that suited them both. They arranged routines for Daniel weekend visits at Jacob's place, alternating pickups from preschool, occasional outings as a group to the Children's Museum or the zoo. Daniel, in turn, thrived within this supportive framework, sensing the calm cooperation between his parents. The memory of Lily's pregnancy, overshadowed by Jacob's betrayal, remained etched in their past, but it no longer held the power to define their present. If anyone had asked Lily, years earlier, whether she would find peace and even contentment after the devastation caused by Jacob's infidelity, she might have laughed cynically. But the passage of time and Jacob's sincere effort to become a better father reshaped her perspective. She still acknowledged the gravity of his wrongdoing and made sure Daniel, once old enough to understand, knew an age-appropriate version of their history. Yet she also recognized that sometimes true deliverance comes only after enduring the hardest trials. Thus, they parted ways, no longer husband and wife, but something else that still held value, co-parents dedicated to raising a child in a healthier environment than either had once believed possible. Jacob would never regain the staggering fortune he'd once wielded, nor the blind adoration he had so craved. Lily would never forget how close she came to sacrificing her dignity for a doomed fairy tale. But in accepting these truths, both gained the freedom to chart new paths, ones built on cautious optimism, humility, and above all, unconditional love for the young boy who bound them together in a way no amount of money or betrayal could sever. Years later, Jacob wrote a blog post, one that went viral, titled "The Price of Arrogance." He recounted how he had risen to millionaire status, crashed spectacularly, and lost the love of his life due to hubris and infidelity. But in losing everything, he gained a chance at redemption, a lesson in humility, and a relationship with his son that mattered more than any fortune. Lily read the post with a strange mixture of sadness, pride, and relief. She saw in Jacob's words the man he might have been all along if only he had let himself be human. For Lily, the journey confirmed a vital truth. Love was more than grand gestures and diamond rings. It was respect, loyalty, and kindness, qualities that can't be bought. She found that her own soul had grown stronger through the ordeal, and she vowed never to give that power away again. Standing in her cozy living room, Lily watched Daniel, now an energetic child running around with an action figure in hand. She felt gratitude that she had chosen dignity over wealth, self-respect over surrender, and a genuine life instead of a fairy tale built on lies. Jacob's karma had come full circle, hitting him hard, forcing him to face the consequences of his actions. Yet, in the debris of his once lavish life, he had discovered something more precious than any gilded mansion or private jet: the chance to atone, to rebuild, and to be a father worthy of Daniel's adoration. And so, life moved on. Lily recorded these memories in a journal, keeping them safe for Daniel to read one day, should he want to know how his parents found the strength to break free from a toxic cycle. The unstoppable tide of time eventually smoothed over the sharp edges of heartbreak and betrayal, leaving behind lessons, new beginnings, and the unbreakable bond of family, even if that family looked different than Lily once dreamed. Lily's decision to stand firm changed her life forever. In refusing Jacob's manipulative demand for money, she uncovered a reservoir of inner strength that shaped her family's future in ways she never could have imagined. Although their marriage was beyond repair, Lily forged a new path, one founded on respect and independence, all while co-parenting Daniel with a healthier perspective. Meanwhile, Jacob confronted his own demons, realizing that wealth and grandeur could never replace genuine love or moral responsibility. Their story reminds us that sometimes the hardest decisions turn out to be the most liberating, and that true wealth comes from integrity and authentic relationships. If you found inspiration, heartbreak, or a sense of hope in this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring more real-life dramas and their powerful lessons right to your screen.